So we're on episode 2. It's Sugar Smacks. It starts on a bright side with Sugar explaining the early days and how they used to talk like the Italians. Hey Charlie, you know how we do it, bada bing bada boom. What a character. I guess that's how they got the name Butta Bing. Smacks is wearing a white Butta and Kwesta sweater and he's happy to be here. Great way to start the episode, coming from a dark episode 1. The second man to come on is Peter 2 Ticks. He explains how he first met up with Slicker, in Leondale. Sibu Mulefe, the former MD of Butta Bing, comes in sporting a red Nike golfer. He seems calm and a guy that runs things generally. Goes on to explain that Slicker was in charge of putting things together. Basically the head boy of Skwatta Kamp in the early days, building relationships to basically help the team to get the music out there. Cut and Join was born, and partnerships with Galo were born too. At the time, they explained how important it was to deal with labels because of the infrastructure from years in the game. The group's distribution responsibilities and marketing and A&Ring were no longer their duty. Their only duty was to focus on making music, a musician's dream. As they talk about the deal with Galo, it seems Infa wanted to be an independent artist too. He wanted to release a solo album called IQ. But it seems Skwatta Kamp was getting too much traction and a shift happened. According to info, Galo said that they had to choose who to focus on first, him or Skwatta Kamp. All in all, Info was let down. He felt like he wasn't given enough support by the group or the label. Peter, the most animated person in this episode, says Info was short-tempered. Apparently Info didn't like nonsense, so he then decided to leave Butta Bing. They then talk about the album they did with Boza. It was called Champ. Apparently the album took a while to do. Apparently they threw everything on the album, from features to mixing engineers to making sure that they were recording in the right studios. Spool says the album was so big that he was actually about to be big as Skwatta Kamp as a solo artist. It seems they all believed in this album and it was the most important piece of music that was ever done by a solo artist at this label. After all that effort, Boz decided he's not feeling it anymore. Injaya Corner was then released months later and the album did poorly. Slicker then said, well, that was karma. Peter says Boza is someone he doesn't like, but we're putting it in a nice way. Apparently he ruined things and he's not too happy with him generally. The documentary moves into a time where they did a remix for Christian Emilia and they were told that they won't get any publishing for the song, take it or leave it. Deal broke down and the international deal died, just like that. Skwatta Kamp kept moving forward. They talk of Flava passing away and how it affected them all. Peter then adds with character that he had a fist fight with Flava once and that cemented the relationship and it made them stronger as a brotherhood. At this moment, the documentary is getting a little fuzzy. They're losing the content and they're also losing how to structure content. It breaks away and starts talking about different things at the exact same time and it gets confusing. At the end, they touch on how the group ended, Skwatta Kamp, and they basically broke up merely because Slick and Smacks were getting more money than everyone else, because they were both artists and management and they were also a bit more popular than everybody else. Again, not much information about the real reasons of why they broke up. It's not similar to episode 1, for example, or episode 3 that we'll talk about next, where the artists talk about the breakdown of how things went down and why people had to separate. Smacks then talks the talk of this episode a little bit. Nota comes in. That light shines on him. At this stage, as I said before, this show was shot a while back, so Nota wasn't himself. He wasn't 2021 Nota. He was reserved, a little more calm. Originally, the guy that's coming in to do the social media for everyone at this table. That's Nota. Nota coming in with Smacks and young guys with Slicker, and Kwesta is in between, and he lands up at Butta Bing before Nota, according to Kwesta. They drop special request and Nota drops everything to focus on Kwesta. Smack says Nota was bad at his original job, which was to be the social media manager. Kwesta continues focusing on his music as the kid that just got signed. Fast forward again, Nota leaves Butta Bing and Kwesta stays. Weeks later, he realizes that he needs Nota and decides to leave Butta Bing too. According to Kwesta, he did Boom Shakalaka music video without Nota, even though Nota was involved in the song somehow. Butta Bing then quietly fades away. And basically, this episode dies down just like that. Nothing bad said about anyone except Boza and maybe a little bit about info from Peter. And basically not much insight in this episode, honestly. With that said, episode 3 is next on my agenda. We talk Mabala noise, Mabala bad, a huge deal for me. Keen to break this down, and the episode has tons of gems, very similar to episode 1. Alright, I think that's all I got on this one. Very disappointing, sadly, in my opinion. Episode 1 was a cracker, and I think episode 3 is a cracker too. So, we'll talk about that one in the next video. Please subscribe for more videos and check out our other videos too. Road to 2K subs, then we'll start doing some discussions where obviously we'll show face and we'll discuss some top stories weekly, and we could also do it in a live. Can't wait for that. For now, I'm out. Please look out for our next video on episode 3.